Hi, this video is about security and privacy risks with using AI, specifically large language models. My name is David Hood, and I am the CEO of 42 Robots AI, and we help organizations implement AI. So, first of all, there's a falsehood out there, just kind of a contextual factor here, which is that data is the new oil. There's this idea that it's all about the data, and the value of the company is just all about the data. In 10 years, the only thing that's valuable will be proprietary data. That is nonsense. That doesn't make sense, and there's a whole host of things wrong with that. I'll give you a few examples. So the point of saying this is to say that if you have had people at your organization put some stuff into ChatGPT incorrectly, I wouldn't worry too much about it, depending on the specific nature of it. Obviously, there are some things that are could be of major concern, because they will train on that. So you do want to be aware of it and try to put a stop to it, and look at some of the other videos that I've made in terms of how you can leverage this in a more secure way. So first of all, a lot of data out there, you think you have proprietary data, but it's reflected also in the public data. So there's tons of proprietary data that, yes, it's unique in your own way, but there's other different data out there that basically meets the same threshold, that can be found publicly or purchased for very, very little money. And there's even there's data brokers out there, and typically data is not that expensive. And so in that sense, this kind of points to the true value of data in some sense. Now, there is some proprietary data that could be very, very valuable. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all data is worthless. I'm saying just because you have proprietary data doesn't mean it's automatically valuable, and that's the only thing that's going to be valuable in your company. A lot of times what I've seen at companies is that they don't have complete data. So maybe the data would be valuable, but they're missing a key part of it. For example, most of the time what you need for your data to be really useful with AI is sample ins and outs. So good samples, not bad samples, but good samples where you have this, whatever you'd want the model to do, you have an in and you have an out. And if you have a decent bit of those, that can be really helpful. But sometimes these ins and outs are broken up into, let's say, 2 pieces each. So you have 4 total pieces, and you have a bunch of three of the pieces, and then this is often what happens in a company, and then they're missing the 4th piece. Or more specifically, it's in a few dudes' heads. These guys know it all, and they're the ones that do that part, and there's no documentation for it. It's just in their heads. In this sense, all the data that you have, all the first 3 parts of the data that is not matched up to the 4th part, because you don't have the 4th part, is kind of useless. It's not completely useless, but it's way devalued versus having all 4 pieces. So just so you know, if something has happened like this, don't worry about it. So ChatGPT will use your data. You can turn this off, whether or not you trust them. But if you go into data, and then I think it's model improvement, improve the model for everyone. Well, definitely do that. And I think with their enterprise versions of ChatGPT, they do provide make this a little bit more clear, and maybe you're able to have more control over this. But again, part of this is the same kind of concern with the APIs. They have promised, just like Claude has promised and Google has promised, that they will not train on your data if you use their APIs or here. But my question to you is, do you really trust them? I think there's a distinct lack of trust, and I think in a lot of ways for a good reason for some of these companies, where, for example, when ChatGPT or OpenAI's CTO was asked about, was Sora, their text-to-video model, trained on YouTube, she was like, I don't know. Okay, that was a really bad answer, because that means yes, basically. Or I think she might have said something a little bit more vague than that. So I think it's reasonable to question whether or not they actually have the intent to fulfill this promise, or even the capability. There have been other issues they've had with their data and it being used correctly, where somebody else's inputs and outputs, conversations, found their way into other people's chat threads. There are alternative solutions. You probably need to read the fine print. There's other chatbots and other model companies out there that will, they'll sell privacy as a primary concern, a primary value add that they have. Now, this is pros and cons of this. Let's assume that they're actually it is a focus of their company. The problem with that is that the top models are ChatGPT and Claude. Specifically, Claude is the best one right now. So you kind of have some trade-offs there. And if you really, really, really want your data to be maximum private, the only way to do that is to have an in-house open source model. So I've spec'd out with a customer, basically getting a machine with GPUs for large language model inference on an open source model. So inference is where you actually run it. And so right now the top models are, it's actually 8/22. The top models right now are is August 22nd, 2024, are Llama 3.1 and Mixtral. So what you can do is you can put this on, let's say if you already have on-premise servers, you can buy a GPU rig, you can load it up into your in-house on-prem servers or whatever server room you have, and you can stand up your own API that is used just internally. And so the data is never sent out to anyone. There's unless it's directly hacked, basically you are maximally secure. So that is the way. If if your data is really valuable, where some companies that's true, then this is the best way to do it. The downside to this is actually pretty expensive. And the models, well, the open source is catching up pretty quickly. Claude and GPT-4 are better than Llama 3 and Mixtral. They just are. Now, are they like orders of magnitude better? No. So it depends on your use case. But for certain things, if the data is that valuable, it might be worth it. But this, again, is very expensive. Not just from the GPUs are very expensive. Now, you don't need top-of-the-line GPUs. I think there's a cost-effective way to do this that doesn't require. So if you were to kind of graph the kind of like GPU power, or GPU RAM is one of the main kind of metrics for it per dollar, you don't get the best bang for your buck with the top GPUs, but the more GPUs you use, it kind of adds additional complexity to it. So it's not a simple buy this amount. It kind of depends on your specific need, which models you want to use. Like Llama 3.1 is a huge model. I don't know how much GPU RAM it needs, but it's a lot. And so you would have to take all that into consideration. But it's not just the GPU cost. That is a significant cost. But there's a lot of heavy lifting from a software, from a maintenance standpoint, from like installing and setting up the models so they work on inference on machines. I've done this myself. I've set these up. I've worked with our machine learning engineers to try to set these up, and it's not simple. And there's not a lot of documentation on it. It's an emerging type of discipline, and there's not a lot of data on kind of setting these up in-house. So know that this is going to cost you, not just from a GPU standpoint, but you're going to need to pay people and labor. So if you were to hire us, it wouldn't be, it would be at least like a couple $100,000 just for the services to spec out, build, set up, and maintain a GPU server. And so you'd be paying for it on a yearly basis. Now, again, if your data is really valuable and you just absolutely must do that, then maybe that's not that big of a cost for you to service. And especially if your use case doesn't require the top models, this could make sense for you. But it's extra work and extra expense. There's a lot of like nitty-gritty technical work that OpenAI and Anthropic are doing on their end with the API. So if you would like help with implementing AI in a secure way to where you get your data, you get the maximum value from AI with the minimal amount of risk, give us a call or click the link below and you get your free custom AI implementation roadmap. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like it. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.